Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudriyena Staprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevai Bhagavate Vattamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisti Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkrupatam Vande Shri Gurunde Natari Paramananda Madhava Shri Chaitanyeshu Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Rayenalpaishu Sabge Kalosmin Yuge Janam Andasabandamatayo Mandabhagyo Om Andasabandamatayo Mandabhagyo Pakutaha Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Mamanasmara Yudhyacha. Welcome to Srimad Bagavatam session, Canto 11, Chapter 3, text number 47. Yas Hridaya Grantim Nijjihireshu Paratmanaha Vidino Pachare Devam Tantroktena cha Keshavam. Ya, one who so quickly Hridaya Granthim, the knot of the heart, false identification with material body. Nijjihirashu, desirous of cutting. Paratmanaha, of the transcendental soul, Vidina, with the regulations. Pacharet, he should worship Devam, the Supreme Personality of God. Tantra Uktena, which are described by Tantras, the supplementary Vedic literatures that give detailed instructions for spiritual practice, cha as well, in addition to those regulations, which are directly Vedoktam, Keshavam, not Keshava. Translation purport given by the disciples of Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Vedic literatures contain mysterious descriptions of the absolute truth that stimulate philosophical speculation. The Vedas also offer heavenly rewards for the performance of ritualistic ceremonies. But as stated in verse 44 of this chapter, such Gnana Kanda and Karma Kanda sections of the Vedas are Balanam Anusasanam, that is, because less intelligent or childish persons are addicted to mental speculation and fruitive activity. These sections of the Vedas are meant to attract such persons to take shelter of the Vedic injunctions for gradual promotion of the perfect state of Krishna consciousness. Now that the path for those who are materialistic has been described in several verses, this verse describes the process for those who are Vignaha, or learned transcendentalists. Such learned transcendentalists are advised to follow Narada Pancharatra, wished to follow the regulated worship described in such Vaishnava Tantras as Sri Narada Pancharatra for praising Supreme Lord directly. The words Upachared Devam Tantroktena cha Keshavam indicate that one should directly worship Keshava, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in many different incarnations to please the devotees. Sri Jayadeva Goswami has described the pastimes of the Lord in his song describing 10 prominent incarnations of the personality of Godhead. Keshava, Lord Fish, Lord Tortoise, Lord Boar, Lord Nasimadev, Lord Vamana, Lord Parashurama, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Balaram, Lord Buddha, and Lord Kalki. The words Upachared Devam indicate devotional service to personality of Godhead, and therefore the word Tantroktena or injunctions of the Shastras, of the Tantras, should be understood to indicate Vaishnava Tantras such as Sri Narada Pancharatra, which give explicit and detailed instructions for worshipping Keshava. The Vedas are referred to by the term Nigama, and the elaborate explanation of the Nigamas is called Agama or Tantra. When the transcendent living entity becomes perturbed by the obnoxious harassment of material bodily dualities, he becomes eager to hear from the Vedas about his transcendental situation. The word Ashu in this verse indicates that those who are eager to put a quick end to material existence and situate themselves in the eternal blissful life of perfect knowledge should directly worship Lord Krishna by pausing the preliminary Vedic rituals described in the previous verses. So in the last verse we have discussed about the aim of human life and how best we can dovetail our activities, our contributions, and our day-to-day life transactions. All material activities should be taken as granted and offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the main word which is stressed here in this 46th sloka is Naiskaryam Labate Siddhim, means the liberation from material work and its reactions. And if one wants to get liberated from the reactions of from material reactions of work and its actions, and to attain perfection, one should understand the eternal relationship of relationship with the Lord. Then only one can proceed to the further criteria or methodology of Vedic injunctions. The purpose of giving encouragement is to promise the material results given in the Vedic scriptures. So it is very difficult to understand the Vedas by this materialistic senses. So one has to approach. So one has to approach, in this case, the bona fide spiritual master who comes from the disciplic succession as recommended by Krishna himself in 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakale neha mahata yoganasta parantapaha. So one cannot receive the Vedic Gnan or Atma Gnan or Sambandha Gnan from the materialistic person or person who is not qualified to deliver the conditioned souls from these material pangs. So the qualified person is such a person that who is well versed in the Vedas, who is expertise and can be able to deliver the conditioned soul. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita also, a Vaishnava is a person one can just giving a darshan of his form or darshan or his glowing spiritualistic activities, one can make others to chant the holy names of the Lord. As soon as one sees a Vaishnava, all of a sudden some transcendental incidents happen in his mind. That's the sign of a pure Vaishnava. So Vaishnava, just by glance, he can make a materialistic person into a spiritualistic person because of his purity in devotional service and because of his strict sadhana, practicing the very high standard of pure devotional service, which are mentioned in Shastras. So here in this Pancharatrika Vidhi, written by Narada Mahamuni, compiled by Narada Muni, and our Acharya lineage, Srila Jiva Goswami and other great Acharyas have also wrote so many books regarding this Agamanaka Shastra and Pancharatrika Vidhi. Not Agamanaka, about Pancharatrika Vidhi. Like there are so many tantras which will help you to worship the Lord Keshava, and it is also mentioned the different process and different upacharas are mentioned in this particular Narada Pancharatrika Vidhi. So in Shastras there are so many different fields where Archanam is a one part of Shastras, where a practitioner or a sadhaka has to follow the footsteps mentioned in Pancharatrika Vidhi. So how deities are how in the morning, how we should wake up the deities, how we should make sleep the deities, and how we can offer the deities the bhogas, how many times we have to offer, and what is the procedure, and what are the cleanliness methods to follow, and how the Radharani's room or cooking room is after deity worship, after the deity room, it's the Radharani room is given more importance or prominent factor for rendering deity worship. So many, like this example, so many things are mentioned in this Pancharatrika Vidhi. So Narada Muni has given this so many tantras how to worship Keshava. So when the transcendental living entity becomes perturbed by obnoxious harassment of material body devotees, he becomes eager to hear from the Vedas about his transcendental situation. As Krishna said in one sloka that 4 types of people will surrender to Krishna, and those 4 types of people are: one who is inquisitive, and another one is distressed, and one who is in want of knowledge, and one who is fully distressed in his material activities. Those people will surrender to Krishna. Another 4 people will not surrender to Krishna are Naradama, Muda, Maya, Apahruta Gnana. All these 4 persons will not surrender to Krishna. So when one becomes distressed, Chaturvija bhajante mam yena sukritino Arjuna artho jignasa. So this sloka comes like this. These 4 people will surrender to Krishna. When a person becomes more distressed and more tensed up or experiences so many stress in his mind, then um, he is forced to give up the materialistic activities. Then he wants some shelter he wants to take. So in that situation, he takes the shelter of the Supreme Lord. Um, so unless or otherwise, once if a person takes up the devotional service naturally with love and affection, one cannot advance, or one cannot go forward in his spiritual activities. For that, he needs some push or some boost from the pure devotees. So for that, he has to take the association of devotees, or he has to follow the footsteps of the previous acharyas mentioned by Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrita. So one who desires to quickly cut the knowledge of false ego which binds the spirit soul should worship the Supreme Lord Keshava by the regulations. So in the heart there is a lot of anarthas. One such anartha is the false ego, which makes or which stops a person to take up the devotional service, and throughout his whole life he thinks that he is the master and he is the controller, and nobody can command him, and nobody can order him in any acts of things he does. So unless or otherwise he worship the Supreme Lord Keshava following the regulations in Vedic injunctions, one cannot cut the false ego in his heart. That's what this sloka explains. So one has to follow the 9 types of devotional service, and Shravanam Kirtanam plays a very prominent role. Also, Archanam gives a lot of Sattvika Guna, and it supports when he does these 2 main Shravanam and Kirtanam types of devotional services. It gives a very good supplement, because Archanam makes a sadhaka concentrates more on the service mood while worshipping the deities or while serving the deities throughout the day. So for that he needs some systematic methodologies or criterias which are mentioned in Vedic injunctions like Pancharatrika Vidhi and Agamanaka Shastras. We, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, follow this Pancharatrika Vidhi compiled by Narada Mahamuni. In those Pancharatrika Vidhi, it has been mentioned if the deities are installed in a temple or at home, a sadhaka or a pujari or the team, the deity team of devotees has to perform elaborate worship and do service to the deities, thinking in the heart that the lordships have fully present there in particular decorum, in the particular place of Garbhagudi or Garbhasthan. So when Prana Pratishtha has happened, the deity team and the pujari team has to commit that they are going to offer such and such services, and they are committed, and that 48 days of Mandala Puja is also performed. In those 48 days of Mandala Puja, the pujari team and the devotees team of deity worship will commit to such and such rules and regulations, and they are going to offer this, that, all those, etc. Like for 6 times offering or 7 times offering, and they do Sodasa Bhagavasara every day, and they make deities to sleep, and also example all sorts of steps and methodologies has to follow. By doing this, one can be able to cut down his false ego in his heart, and the most corruptible activity of word activity is called, the activity which is kama, can be subdued by doing this service of Archanam. So one has to follow these 9 types of devotional services, and a sadhaka cannot keep on chanting the whole day, because since he is exposed to different dimensions in materialistic world, he has to do minimum 16 rounds chanting, which takes almost 2 hours. If possible, he can also increase. It is minimum only, but max he can increase to 32 or 40 rounds. If not possible, he has to engage in different types of activities as recommended by our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, like deity worship, book distribution, preaching activities, Nagar Sankirtan, reading Shastras, all this, and Archanam. All these activities will help a sadhana to really cut the knot of false ego in the heart. Hare Krishna.